Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Oi, Let's Talk podcast. Today, we are joined by a very special guest. I'm not going to butcher your intro. I hate doing intros of other people because you know when you hear someone say something and you're like, oh, I wouldn't have introed myself that way. But we're here with Laura, so take it away.
Hello. So I'm a mindset coach and business mentor, and I have helped a hell of a lot of women in the mindset space.
Me included.
And, yes. And in the business mentoring space, particularly service providers in like an online space wanting to grow their business. And then mindset coaching, that was my bread and butter for years and years and years. So did that surrounding self-love, confidence, really backing yourself, manifesting what you want. So done lots of different things, but that's where I've landed.
I love.
How long have you been doing it for?
Since I was looking back, and I'm pretty sure I registered in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
But
which feels like forever.
You started with I'm going to butcher this again.
Yeah.
Not hypnotherapy, but
Well, yeah, I do. I'm trained in that. So I've trained in a lot of things, to be honest. I feel like once you start, you just keep doing more and more and more. And then you're like, so how do I package what I do anymore? It's very tricky to do so. So yeah, I did start with that. I did a hell of a lot of hypnosis with people and, helped a lot of people surrounding anxiety as well. And, the way they view themselves and changing how they speak to themselves and all the different bits and pieces. So I've done a lot in that way. A lot.
Yeah. I think I came across you, I want to say maybe 4 years ago. When did we start working together?
Yeah, I reckon it was 4 years ago.
Like 4 years ago,
2020.
I think I dipped my toes into You But Fearless.
Yes.
Anyone who's listening to this who knows Laura will be like, what a throwback. You But Fearless cracked my fucking world open.
Yeah.
I think there was I don't know exact numbers, but you had 300 plus people on that.
Yes. So I have had, the amount of people that went through You But Fearless was probably... over 200, 300 people.
I remember getting onto that. Sorry, we're sidetracking for a sec, but I remember getting onto that Zoom call being like, what the that was my first ever masterclass Zoom call that I'd ever gotten on. And I was like, what the fuck? And you changed my whole world. Mindset wise, completely changed my whole world.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, I still love so much surrounding mindset. There's no two ways about it. It's the foundation for everything. So you can't do anything if you don't have a strong mindset. It's really tough. Really, really tough on you. So yeah, I did that. I've had hundreds of people in masterclasses and containers. I did check one year and I think there was over 1,000 people that came through the business in a 12-month period, which was amazing.
Insane.
And that made me so happy. So happy and just, very content.
I was just going to say, would you say a lot of that would come through from organic referrals? Because Kate is a raving fan of yours. I found you through Kate and it just becomes a network of that. Would most of that be the case with you?
Yeah, well, it was really slow at the start for me. Because when I started, I don't know if you guys heard of coaches, life coaches back in the day, but I don't know what they were. So it wasn't a thing. It was not a thing. And I had to I felt like I was introducing this work to a market that hadn't seen it before because I was working predominantly with younger women. Of course, there were people who already existed in the space, but for me, I was like, I haven't met anyone who is younger doing this, so I don't know how to relate to it. I feel like I'm introducing it. And from that point, it just kind of grew, and a lot of stuff was through referrals, and the business just kind of grew organically. Please, no one ever dismiss the power of a referral. You will get so much business from it. And then it just grew and grew and grew from there. So, but it's all been very organic. I've tried ads and it's never really landed. It's never really worked, especially with such a niche business. It's tricky to make ads work unless you're targeting your own audience.
I think ads are so interesting. We're going off on a fucking business tangent every time. I can't help myself.
Don't let it flow.
It's
myself. Fine.
I feel like ads, everyone thinks that's the answer to their business growth. They're always like, I'll start doing ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, all the things. And it's get your foundations down first.
Always.
Referrals, word of mouth, clients tagging you, being
get
a
good at
good
your work
fucking
first.
coach.
Be good, and then a lot of other things will actually figure themselves out.
It works.
Rather than trying to look good, but what you're actually core delivering is not that good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I also find that it works so well for the right people but you have to be really specific. I have never found that it's worked for me. And I've worked with coaches who have tried to support me with ads and all those, but like what I do is so niche. Like it's hard. It's kind of hard to.
Do you
it's kind
find
of hard to, you know, package that
and show people what it is? Because what I'm imagining is if you don't have exposure to life coaching, mindset coaching, a lot of it may just sound like a key word, but people don't actually understand how that's going to transform their lives or their business. So when I speak to Kate and she speaks about her experience with you, I fully understand and get it. But if I hadn't heard about what work you've done together, I can imagine someone on the outside not seeing the value in it just yet. Do you find that that's something?
Well, yeah, I'm not really talking to newbies, if I'm totally honest. So like if you come across my page, you're going to be like, oh, she's not talking to like someone who's new to the world, because if I was, my language would be entirely different. But yeah, I definitely think that that's a big barrier to coaching in general, is the fact that there's so much jargon that's so confusing. Like to an outsider, they'd be like, sorry, what are you talking about? Don't understand. So yeah, I definitely think that like in the early phases, that was definitely potentially a barrier. And then as more people tried it and started, you know, using alternative ways of doing this work, it really, really helped. And for me, like the coaching world was the thing that changed my life, which is why I got into it. So, you know, I didn't understand it till I did it too, which is tricky. Yeah.
So I want to know about, we're kind of jumping all over the place, but I want to know about manifestation.
Yes.
You're the queen of it. You've got your own podcast. You love it. But I feel like so many people say that they manifest, think that they're quote unquote doing all the work, but they're not getting the results that they want because maybe they don't know what it even means.
Yeah. Well, so we're manifesting all the time. So it's this idea that when you are desiring something, you're putting it out there. You say, this is what I'm claiming, this is what I'm calling in. And then you're effectively having that come into your life. You're manifesting it, making it a reality. And for a lot of people, they don't realize that they're doing it all the time, but effectively with manifestation, the thoughts, the way that you see the world is going to impact how you interact with the world and the kinds of experiences that you're going to be having. So if you say, okay, I have this goal, or I want to manifest, for example, you know, it might be a relationship, or it might be new clients or something like that, but you don't believe that it's possible, you consistently doubt yourself, or you just like don't take any action or don't watch the kinds of stories that you're telling yourself about having that happen, it's going to impact how you show up in the world. And it can be something as simple as like, you know, in the relationship and dating space, it might be that you say, okay, I really want to attract a relationship, but men are bad. I've never had a good experience with them, or never had a good experience in a relationship in general. So it's just going to fail and it's going to be shit, right? If you go out to a bar or if you're scrolling the apps, you're coming to it with that energy. You're expecting it to fail. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you might be at a bar and the right person could be there, or a person that you might connect with might be there, and you don't even see them. It's like you have blinkers on, right? You're like, I can only see this tiny, tiny part of my reality. And the same is true in business. The same is true in any different, it doesn't matter what area it is, right? It could be in business where you're like, okay, I'm going for this thing, but no one wants to work with me. Well, think about how you show up to sell when you say no one wants to work with me. Like your energy is slumped. Oh, hi guys, like just want to share this. Like, it's just gross.
I feel like this a lot with pricing conversations, because I've spoken to a lot of people where they themselves will assume the financial position of the person that they're selling to.
Oh my God. Not your fucking business.
No,
get out of their wallet.
Because what I've heard a bit at the moment, and I've had this conversation recently where it's like there is, you know, there's financial strain at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think that is there, and there will always be people who either can or can't afford your service. Absolutely. And that's fine. Have a different offer for different budgets, for example. But I think that the worst energy going into a particular conversation is assuming that they can't afford it, and also putting doubt in someone's mind about what they're going to get out of it.
Yes.
I think that's so important with those conversations.
It's even when people say, I've got a really cool low ticket offer for everyone. Like, why are you highlighting the fact that you think your whole audience can't afford you? Like, just put the price out there and see who comes into it, and it's all good.
Yeah.
But going back to the dating thing, that was a really cool example. We've talked a lot about dating today.
Today's a dating, it's a theme, it's on theme.
But that's a really cool example because I have a lot of girlfriends who are trying to get partners over in the dating scene, but enter it in that exact mindset. And I'm constantly having conversations around like, if you go in with that mindset of like, dating apps are shit, I'm never going to find my partner, men are fucking shit, X, Y, and Z, whatever's going on, you're never going to get anywhere.
Your mind wants to show you that you're right. And like, you know, as an extension of that, the universe is going to bring to you what you consistently put out there and what you consistently expect. So yes, I always say there's multiple truths that exist. Is it true that some men are shit? Absolutely. Like some men, I've had experiences where they're terrible, but I've also had the opposite of that where they're incredible and they're so amazing to be around. And so all of these truths can exist, but you've got to figure out, what do you want your truth to be? Do you want it to be true that all men are shit and that dating apps don't work for me and I'm never going to meet someone? You know, same in business, that I can't work, the industry's saturated, there's too many people, blah, blah, blah. Do you want that to be a truth or not? Yes, it could be true for 90% of the population. That's fine, but what do you want yours to be? And you have to be willing to change your truth, the way that you see the world, because when you change that, it's going to interact. It will change how you interact with people. It'll change the energy that you're bringing to conversations. It'll change everything. So your mind will try to bring things to you that you consistently think, and the universe will do the same. So it's so important to be really, really mindful of like the truth that we hold, and we can change it. You can change it at any different time.
So what would some tips be if somebody's listening to this being like, fuck, that's me? What would you say in terms of them actually changing that part of their mind where they're constantly focusing on the negative?
Yep. So I always like to ask, firstly I go, what do we want? Because you're never going to figure out what your limiting beliefs or what the way that the energetic wobbles or the leaks are. You're never going to find that out if you don't know what you want. All right. So the second that you figure out what you want, you then go, oh, I'm not there yet. So these are all the reasons why I'm not there yet. And these are all the thoughts and blah, blah, blah. So you need to figure out exactly what you're calling in. Then from that place, I always like to look at all of the thoughts and stories that are telling you that you can't have that, or that that's not possible for you, right? And the way to shift this in a really simple way, I'm a big believer in doing a lot more deeper work on this. And I do this with one-on-one clients. I do this in lots of containers that I run. But a really simple way to do this is just asking, is this a universal truth? Is it fundamentally true for everyone? Because if it's true for everybody, fine, willing to play with that. If it's not true for everybody, then I'm not playing with it. So, you know, in the dating scene, for example, is it fundamentally true that dating apps don't work? I met mine on a dating app. Same. I met my guy. So I'm like,
I've been to a lot of weddings that have come from from Tinder.
And Hinge,
yeah. Well, mine was Bumble way back. And so, like, is that fundamentally true for everybody? Okay, well, 2 people out of 3 on this couch right now are like, no, that wasn't true for me. Okay, it's not true then. Not fundamentally true. Not a truth for everybody. Okay, how can I get closer to the truth of dating apps could absolutely work? And it's just figuring out what's going to help me believe that gets to be possible. And I'm a big believer in take little baby steps, because a lot of times people will try and play with affirmations. Don't get me wrong, love affirmations. But if you are saying to yourself an affirmation that is so far from your current reality and current truth, you are literally lying to yourself, and you will cause more wobbles and you'll feel worse. You'll have more overthinking, you'll feel dysregulated, you'll feel like dog shit. So my belief is like, what's going to help me get closer? Even right now, if people are saying dating apps don't work, well, they work for two out of 3 people here, right? So it's looking at, okay, well, maybe dating apps work for other people. Okay, how could I shift that into that working for me? Okay, I'm noticing there's a lot of people on dating apps. Everyone I've spoken to, it's a really good person, is on a dating app. All right, and you just kind of start to open your mind slowly but surely, and it'll open up your energy as well. So I think that's what I would suggest. Yeah. I could talk about this for 10 hours.
I love that. I love that.
But that's where I would start, is just asking yourself, is this a universal truth? No. All right, what do I want my truth to be instead? And how can I start to work up to that?
I love that. That's really great advice.
Yeah, thank you.
When we think about you mentoring and supporting coaches in this industry around mindset, I know that you would work with them with so many different elements, but what are those reoccurring themes that keep coming up that are blocking women in business from smashing their goals?
How much time you got?
We'll go TikTok.
There's so much. There's like imposter syndrome that comes up. There's money. The relationship to money is a big one, especially with women in success. Sometimes there can be this idea of like intimidating partners if they're doing really well. That can come up. It's a lot of self-doubts, a lot of fear around responsibility and what that's going to look like. And just thinking that they're not good enough, and they've done a lot of work. Like a lot of people who are coaches, right? They come into the industry. I'm sure you guys have a really similar story. You come into the space because it probably changed your life and you want to help other people change theirs. And so you might have had doubts or wobbles in whatever field you currently came into. And with that, then that can translate into other areas when you go into a new space. So it's like, okay, I've really nailed, for example, fitness. Like I feel really good and solid around that. Might still have coaching around it, but like I feel good about staying consistent. You then go into business and it's a whole new layer and level of consistency and habits that you need to implement that are hard, right? Yeah. And it's tricky, and there's like different ways of thinking about things, and you need to kind of open yourself up in a whole other way. And with that, a whole bunch of new doubts can come through. And I always say it's, you know, every level, it's the same devil dressed up differently. So
that changed my life. That exact thing.
Yeah.
I always quote you on that because when you were asking that question, Gem, I was exactly that. So I came into fitness because I fell in love with it. It changed my life. And then I started coaching women, and then I built a really successful fitness business.
Yep.
Then I met Laura, and then I was so afraid to open my business coaching.
Yeah.
For 2 years, I spoke about it. I did fuck all because I was so afraid I'd be seen as too much, money hungry. I had full of fear, everything.
Yeah.
And then I remember we had this conversation on our first call, and you turn around to me and you go, cool, so what you're going to do is you're going to launch a masterclass and you're going to then launch your business mentoring.
Yeah.
And thank fuck I did, because at the end of that masterclass, before I'd even finished selling it, people were already buying into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it opened up a whole new world. But before that happened, we did so much work on the way that, like, my fear of the way that other people would view me, of being too much, of being seen as too savage, all the other things.
Yeah.
It cracks open a whole different world.
It really does. In the best way possible. But it's, you know, any kind of goal that you're going for, you're going to go on a massive personal development journey to get there. And it's the same is true in business. Like the way that you have to have a beautiful relationship to yourself, and you have to constantly be working on that as you continue moving forward. It's beautiful, but it's also really tough. Like it can be really up and down and really wobbly and wonky. So yeah, every level, same devil dressed up differently, same doubts. They're just going to come up in a different way.
I also feel like there is a massive double standard in the online space with men showing up and talking about money and success and women. And I have spoken to Kate about this recently, and you would predominantly be supporting women, but I just feel like a man, I can use examples, but I'll just omit any names, but a man could show up and be like, I've just bought a Lambo, I've just gotten this and this, I've launched my 5th business, and in the comments is amazing. But if a woman consistently talks about her high ticket offers and her big money wins, I just don't feel like it is received the same way. Do you agree? And do you feel like with women that are potentially afraid of celebrating or going to that next height in their business because of that, how should they be able to overcome it?
I was thinking about this on the drive here, which is really interesting. I was just thinking about how every which way you cut it, I feel like women are demonized constantly. Like I think about, I had a baby 4 months ago, and like you go back to work too soon, you're leaving your child, you're a bad mother, you don't, and you choose to be a homemaker, you're not contributing to the household. Like any which way you cut it, you kind of can't get it right. Yeah. And I say the same in business. It's like, you know, these women are doing incredible things. So many women do amazing things in their work, and it doesn't matter. They're probably going to cop scrutiny for whatever reason, right? And so I'm a big believer that if you try and be perfect and keep quiet and keep small and do things how you think other people would be comfortable with, there's still going to be some asshole thinking, she's just not being authentic. Like there's still going to be someone saying something, right? And so we have to just get comfortable with not being able to control people's perceptions of us, because we can't control it. we're all projecting our experiences and how we see people and success. We're projecting that on people all the time. And so to overcome it is to like actually lean into it and do the thing and regulate your nervous system and ground yourself and have support. I'm a big believer in like, you know, especially when you're trying to go to new heights, there's going to be a lot more wobbles. You're going to experience a lot more imposter syndrome, doubt, all the different things, whatever you're currently experiencing. When you try and go for a big new goal, like amplify it. It's going to amplify, and that's totally fine because you're trying to bring in this new layer and level for yourself. Get support, have people around you that can back you, but also be comfortable with the fact that even if you did everything that you think everyone's going to be comfortable with, you're still going to be judged. Perceptions are still going to be projected onto you, and you actually can't control that. That's just life.
And I also think if you accept in one way or the other the fact that you can't win trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
So if you come to a point where you can understand that a lot of the rejection and things that you may feel from people in the online space in this example doesn't actually have much to do with you yourself.
No.
It's got to do with them. If you can understand that, then you can take away the pressure to try to manage those perceptions, because if you can't win, you might as well do what you want to do.
Absolutely. I say this all the time. I'm like, notice, especially when people, they're kind of doing these things, you know, I'm going to say it in regards to coaches, but this could be in other areas as well. This is just a mindset thing, right? When you are going for this new goal or whatever it might be, just notice if you've ever looked at somebody online and made a snap judgment and you've just decided that person's fucking greedy. Oh, that's gross. I hate that. Oh, I would never do it that way. Whatever you're doing to that person, that's happening to you. But just notice that 9 times out of 10, you do that. You don't even comment. You just move away. That's not for me. Cool. You know, that's what's happening most of the time. And that's okay, because even now today we're having a conversation. I can almost guarantee you there will be things that I will say that you'll go, don't really resonate with that. Right? Or somebody listening to this, I'll be like, you know, maybe. Right? Some stuff is going to be like, hell yeah. Other parts, not so much. And that's part of life. Like it's going to happen. Doesn't matter. It is what it is.
The whole money and females getting hate online for like showcasing success, I say in quotation, fucks me off. Makes me so incredibly annoyed, because it's so interesting. It's like, I watch a lot of successful men across social media, right? I follow a lot of successful men. They'll post a photo with their Lamborghini. You'll read the comments and it will be like, fuck yeah, bro, this is sick. You'll see a guy out on the street with a Lambo. Can I take a photo with it? You see a girl driving a Lamborghini, daddy's money. There's no way. Oh, she must be doing OnlyFans. That's the only way she could be making money. No hate to OnlyFans. Fucking send it. Love it. Yeah. But it's always negative projections where it's like, if you are somebody who's potentially listening right now doing that to people, clock where maybe you need to work on your own shit.
Absolutely.
Because that's
Start
a
celebrating
you thing.
women. If you want to be celebrated, celebrate other women.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to be honest.
And especially if you're a business owner, I feel like this is a big thing, because obviously the comparisonitis comes into play here, where if you're looking at someone else in business as a female going, there's no fucking way, she's lying, she's money hungry. It's like, you can't expect, that your business is going to be successful if that's the way that you speak about other women as well.
Absolutely.
And that's my story.
Also, if you've got enough time to be critiquing other women online and you're trying to grow a business, your time's misdirected. You're actually not working hard enough on making your own business thrive.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. That's so
work
true.
harder, okay?
Yeah. Do better, work harder, move on.
But I also think like it's so important. I love it. I love that you've shared stuff. I've shared stuff about money wins. And I think that I personally love it, because back in the day when I first started, the only people that were making money in this industry were men.
Absolutely.
And they were so fucking asshole. Like it was just so aggressive, and like I was like, that's not really how I roll. I like my tarot cards and crystals. Like it wasn't for me. So it was overwhelming, and I was like, I don't have the blueprint. I don't know where the blueprint is. And so seeing other people for me was such a permission slip. Oh my God, this is actually something where I can make money. I just used to think, truly, when I first started, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a coach, so I'm probably just not going to make much money.
Same.
I used to think that all the time. I was like, oh, if I want to make money, I might have to go to corporate.
Same.
Also, I've seen a bit of a mindset around pricing and being like as in people being afraid to charge more or charge their worth because they think that it's not warranted, for example, or the fact that I don't know, I just feel like there's some funny things happening with people thinking that it's better to undersell themselves so then they get more clients. But I always try to explain the fact that I think that when you charge what you're worth, you attract clients who also view your worth in that regard.
Yeah. Well, I think we just have to think about money mindset. Like for me personally, I would be deterred if somebody had a really, really low price point for coaching, for example, because I'd be like, were you overworked? Like that's my thought process is like, are you completely overworked? Because like, I don't know how you're going to be able to support me on $30 a week. Like, holy shit, that's, you know, I'm going to feel bad messaging you. I don't want to message you if that's the case, right? So I do think that there is an element of that, but I, you know, it's different pricing ranges for loads of different things. And I just think to myself, anytime, you know, my clients are doubting it, I'm always like, Tiffany & Co. sells a $2,000 paperclip, so
I think we're good, babe.
I think you're fine. I don't know, and just, you know, it's $2,000 for a paperclip. That's a lot. Like to me, I'm like, I don't really value that, so that feels like a lot. But for someone else, it's like, this is the most beautiful thing. I really value my office, and I want it to look beautiful. Like it's just, we all value different things. So, yeah.
I want to ask. So, for anyone who does not know, you have the most cutest little bean ever, Pia. So you just became a mum, which is really exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to know how you have gone about navigating motherhood and business.
Okay, so this is not going to be glamorous. Like this conversation around motherhood and business is not glamorous because I had the worst fucking pregnancy ever. Like so incredibly shit. I can't even begin to describe to you. But prior to that, I'd been wanting to have a baby and had really bad endometriosis, PCOS, like, you know, a lot of issues, and was sort of prompted, if you want to have children, you know, think about it sooner. That was the conversation with the doctor. Like I would recommend starting sooner. If you don't, then you might want to look to freeze because it wasn't looking good, right? Put it that way. So we tried, I had a miscarriage, tried more, had a lot of struggles, and we were really close to jumping the gun and doing IVF. We'd done like other fertility procedures that weren't IVF that were close to it but weren't it. So I was amped up on a lot of hormones for a while there. But for me, I was having to sort of shift how I wanted to be in business for a while because I was unintentionally preparing for a different life and knowing, okay, I really want to be a parent. So how can I do this and also be a parent? And that meant that I couldn't be in sessions from which, you know, like I think back to 2021, 2022, like, you know, from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. I can't do that anymore. It's not what I want to do, but also if I want to be a parent, it's not really how I want to do it. So I was preparing for a while and just like changing the packages, changing how I was doing things and doing it in a way that felt fun to me. Now, I fell pregnant and I had all these plans of all these different things I was going to set up, and I got hit with hyperemesis, so HG, which is excessive vomiting, vomiting. I'm talking 20 times a day.
Fuck that.
And that was medicated. So like me being on Danzatron and Zofran and just like constantly couldn't eat anything. So unbelievably unwell, hospitalized multiple times. Towards the end of my pregnancy, I had tachycardia. If I stood up, my heartbeat was at 160 beats per minute, just standing. Oh my God. Let alone fucking walking. I wasn't allowed to leave the house on my own. I was basically on glorified bed rest. Like I was allowed to move, but not too much. Wasn't allowed to drive. It was awful. And so I had to really dwindle down incredibly. Like the business was really stable financially. I had to look after myself a hell of a lot and wasn't pushing as much anymore because obviously I literally couldn't. So for me, that was horrific. And I was like, oh my God, what is being a mum going to be like? If this is what it's like now, Jesus Christ. And then having PR immediately felt better. Like had her via C-section too. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not pregnant. Hectic. This is mad. This is incredible. And there was a lot of fear, obviously, like being pregnant, fear of loss, all that kind of stuff. But being a mum and since having her, it is so much easier now to do things in business. I can't tell you, I feel like the biggest weight is off my shoulders. And now we're starting to, 4 months postpartum, I'm now starting to like do more things, have a new training out there, like starting to actually implement all the systems that I had planned to do last year to really support things, which just it wasn't possible. So it has not been smooth, but I also have this perspective of I had to surrender, and I love to control things, like I think we all do. And I had to surrender to this idea that I can't be in control right now. Like, this is something that is out of my control. All I can do is stay in my power and be in my power and recognize this is what I currently need. But I'm here for the long game. I'm not someone who's like, okay, well, you know, I can't do this thing right now, so fuck it, nothing's going to happen. I just recognize that, yeah, my timeline looks different, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think adapting and not being too hard on yourself, like it was outside of your control.
Absolutely.
Roll
and
with
the
it.
business was totally fine in terms of like things were still moving, things were still happening, you know, everything was kind like, you know, things are moving without necessarily me needing to be fully on it. But yeah, it didn't look as glamorous as what I wanted it to be, but oh well.
How's coming back to it? So like 4 months postpartum, getting back into coaching calls and doing all the things.
I love it. I mean, I love my work. So if I didn't really enjoy it, it would be a lot worse. But I do. Jamie owns a gym, so that does help. So he's flexible in the
Melbourne
fact that
strength culture. In case you guys didn't know,
it's the best. So he's able to be like flexible, and we can kind of work around each other's schedules. I don't want to work super hard or like super long hours. You know, hard to me is long hours. Like actually working with people is not hard, but the long hours I'm not really into because I want to be present and I want to be with her and I want to see her grow because she's the cutest thing on the actual planet.
She actually is.
She's actually so cute. It's
I think
so
I messaged
insane.
you yesterday. I was like, she's fucking delicious. And you were like, I'm biased. And I'm like, I'm not. And she's fucking cute.
I just look at her every morning she wakes up, she like does this really like goofy smile. Like she just like smiles into the back of her head. I'm like, I can't, you make me want 10, but I can't be pregnant 10 times. So that's absolutely not going to happen. And also have to raise you into a human, a well-rounded human. And I couldn't do that with 10. You know, no way. But it's just the best. It's the best. So really long answer. It's been wobbly, but like it's feeling really smooth now, but it was worse when I was actually pregnant, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got one more question.
Yeah.
If you were to give advice to any person starting a business or a couple of years in, what advice would you give them? It's general. That's a very generalized question, but roll with it.
I'm gonna think about the number one thing that I have been looking at a lot with my clients at the moment is 80% of this is mindset. So yes, strategy is so important. You need the systems in place. Strategy needs to be there. But you could have the best strategy in the world. You can have the best systems in place. If your mindset is wobbly and wonky, it's going to impact everything because your energy speaks before you open your mouth. So before you even say the fucking thing, people can feel if you are, you know, solid and grounded and in your power or not. They can feel that, they can sense that. And so my big thing would be do not underestimate the power of your mindset. It's like 80% of this game is being strong and solid in your mindset, and that's going to get you really, really, really far. And then implementing the systems and strategy as you go. So if you need support with that, because it feels wonky, get support with that, but really don't disregard it. It's so, oh my gosh, unbelievably important.
Don't put all your energy into marketing and systems if you don't have your mindset down pat.
Pretty much.
And I can vouch for that because that was me. When I started my business, I, what's the word? Like bro strategy. I was very like in the world of like bro strategy, but like completely neglecting my mindset. And only as of like 4 years ago, I got like heavily into personal development, heavily into the mindset work. And I'm like, you just watch your business grow because you're so solid.
But you're open.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Like when you've got what am I saying? Strong and solid. I was trying to say those words. When you're solid in your mindset and you feel strong in yourself, like you'll see obstacles as opportunities. You'll be able to open up to things so much more. You know, you won't freak out if somebody sends you a message and then they ghost you. You're like, oh well,
not for
whatever.
me.
Right? Rather than fixating on it, and then that takes precious time away from serving your fucking clients, looking after the ones you've currently got, and you know, posting a really great piece of content and selling as well. Like all these little things, it might seem like nothing, but it all adds up and it compounds over time. So if you're constantly wobbling and you're really in your head and you're always doubting yourself, you're constantly out of your power, it's going to be really unbelievably difficult to get ahead and to create what you want to create. And even if you do, you'll find that when you get there, you fucking hate it, and you'll deal with a hell of a lot of imposter syndrome too. I've experienced women who have had those experiences too.
And what's the point of business if you're not being fulfilled or
Honestly,
you don't feel fulfilled? There's no point.
May as well work for someone else. It'll be
Exactly.
easier. Well, not easier. That's a different level and a different layer, and that's, you know, presents its own challenges. But you know, it can be a challenging experience. So yeah, if you're not enjoying it, I'm a big believer. Like, actually, just go do something, because you can enjoy it.
Yeah,
it can be really enjoyable, which we have all experienced, right? Is like, it actually can be really fucking fun. Yeah.
And on that note, thank you so much.
Thank
Like,
you.
I know that our listeners and viewers will absolutely love this episode.
Yeah.
I loved your analogies, especially with mindset. And
thank you.
if they would like to find more about you, plug away.
Yeah, feel free. I would head over to Instagram, Laura Grady with 2 I's. And that's the best place to find me. I have lots of different things there, podcast. I've got, you know, free trainings, all the different bits and pieces.
Are you doing mindset coaching again now as well?
Yeah, a little bit of mindset, dabbling in
business.
mindset and business, a lot of business coaching.
So if any of you were listening and you're like, fuck, this is me, Laura's your girl.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We love you guys. Bye.